Hey, this is Dennis Hauck. I wrote and directed a movie called Al's Beef, and it's playing here at the Port Townsend Film Festival. It's a short, semi-short, 35-minute Western, and it's about a branded woman looking for revenge. She's got the name Al cattle branded across her forehead, and she comes to town to get some justice. Our big two aren't in any bands. We've got Jordan Ladd, who is in Death Proof and Cabin Fever and a bunch of stuff, and then we've got Dean Stockwell, who's been in just about everything for the past 60 years. But as far as music goes, yeah, we've got David Yow, who was the lead singer of the Jesus Lizard, who was just phenomenal indie rock band in the 90s. They were, buds with Nirvana and all that crowd. And as I was telling you a minute ago, that was the first band I ever saw when I was 15 years old, and David Yow blew me away. He was just a madman. He got on stage and just immediately, 2, 3, 4, jumps into the crowd. I'd never seen anything like that. He always ends up bloody, and in fact, when so I always had that in my head, like, if I ever get to make movies, that guy is he's got a personality, and I always like movies, like Nicholas Roeg. He casts a lot of musicians in it, like Art Garfunkel, Mick Jagger, and David Bowie, and I always like seeing musicians get a second career as actors. So he's got a new band now called Quee. They're based in Los Angeles, so I went to a show and just introduced myself, and of course he was all bloody after the show. I don't know how that happened, but his forehead was bleeding, and said, "Do you want to be in a movie?" And he'd never really done anything. I think he did some indie project in Chicago, which I've never seen, but he said he was pretty much playing himself. So this was his first time, like, actually playing a real character. So he was excited about that, and hopefully he's got a second career coming. Yeah, I mean, he ended up doing a great job, but he was definitely a little nervous about it, which I couldn't believe, seeing him on stage. He's just so outgoing and such a force to be reckoned with. But we get in there and we're kind of doing some rehearsal, and he's just like, But I saw right away, like, I can get him there. He's got it. He just needs to kind of come out of his shell, and he did a great job. And people watched the movie, and they're just like, wow, we thought he was like the veteran actor in the bunch. Well, I'm a huge fan of Westerns. I just watch them all the time. So I always wanted to, and it's always, in other scripts I've written, there's always like little hints of the Western in there, the mythology, but I'd always wanted to do a pure Western, but I felt like I needed to, I feel like you've got to know the genre backwards and forwards because there's so much history to it, and you see a lot of Westerns these days, like indie stuff or straight-to-video stuff, and I kind of watch them, I'm like, have these people ever seen a Western? It's more like an action movie with cowboy hats, So I really felt like before I tackled a true Western, I had to know it backwards and forwards. So just for like 5, 6, 7 years, I've just been watching everything I can get my hands on, and I finally felt ingrained in it. So I was just sitting there one day at the New Beverly Cinema in Los Angeles. It's a great repertory theater, and they were playing this movie called The Female Bunch. It's a 70s exploitation movie, which I thought was going to be like an all-girl version of The Wild Bunch, which I thought would be amazing, but it wasn't really. It was not quite a Western, so I just started daydreaming during that, and the idea popped in my head, and kind of wrote the script in my head while staring through the screen. Yeah, well, my favorite Westerns are the Italian Westerns, which I feel like have just this great surreal feel to it. They really pick up on the mythic quality of it. And then I guess it's a little different because we've got a woman in the lead, which has been done a few times, but, I've been tracking down as many Westerns as I can find, and there's still not that many like female gunslinger Westerns. There's like Cat Ballou, Jane Fonda, there's Hannie Calder, Quick and the Dead, but there's not that many. So, but for me, it wasn't really like I want to make a movie with a woman. It was kind of the first image that popped into my mind was the branding. And to me, it's like, men are all ugly and scarred up anyways. That's not that strong of an image. But if you take a beautiful woman and brand Al across her forehead, that's to me a powerful image. So it all kind of came out of that. It's been good. We've been going all summer. I've been traveling all over. I just got back from Germany. About a couple weeks ago, I was in Korea a few months ago. So it's always interesting to see what other countries feel about it, because the dialogue, it's so so specific to English, and there's all this slang and everything. So I'm always wondering, are they going to pick up on everything? But they do, and hopefully it's a visual movie too, and it translates. But it's been gone really well. I always like seeing it with different audiences, because sometimes, some people watch it like it's an art house film and they're very quiet and yes, and then sometimes we play with the midnight crowd and they're just clapping and cheering and laughing. So you never know how an audience is going to react. Like when I was in Korea, I had no idea they were going to project Korean subtitles up there, so that was interesting, and I think it helped, but I have no idea who translated the movie and how well it was translated. So the whole time I was watching the movie, I'd be looking, they have the subtitles at the side of the screen. I was looking at that, and every once in a while there would be like a question mark on the end of something that was a declarative statement, and I was just like, how well is this coming across? But, you can pick up on the story. I was just in Germany, and there was a German short film playing in our little block, and there were no English subtitles in that, but I felt like I got it, and I was talking to the director afterwards. I was like, you know what, towards the end of the movie I almost knew exactly what they were saying. I could tell that they're finding out the truth, and all this stuff. So you can pick up a lot of the foreign film festivals, they take your English synopsis, translate it into their language, and then translate it back for the English version of the program. So it's always interesting reading those. Yeah, I guess when I'm always pretty heavy on dialogue, or I enjoy that, but in the end I ended up liking the visuals and the look of the movie more than all the little lines that I thought were so clever when I was writing them. I feel like it's a bit of a love it or hate it movie, but I feel like a lot more people have loved it than hated it, so that's good. But the Western is a very not everyone loves Westerns, and especially not everyone loves the kind of Italian surreal feel Westerns, especially people people that love traditional American Westerns sometimes look down on the Italian Westerns. So even Western fans sometimes might be like, it's a little weird. But overall, it's been really good. And like I said earlier, every audience is different. But when you get the audience that is just laughing and clapping and cheering, that's great. I think our best screening ever actually was it was almost an empty theater, and I was disappointed. But there was like two guys in there that this must have been their favorite movie of all time. They loved it, and I was like, I need to pay these guys to come to every festival with us, because they definitely let everyone know that they loved it. We're trying to turn this into a feature. So I wrote the script in the spring, the feature version of it, and haven't had much of a chance to settle down and try and get that made, because I've been going to festivals all summer. But that's the next step. Hopefully after this, after Port Townsend, we're gonna settle down a little bit and get a game plan going on that. I guess we got all the story stuff out of the way in the short, and for the feature, it was a chance to expand the story, but also just have fun with it. So some scenes that are alluded to in the shorts, it's like, well, let's film it. The sheriff comes into this town and cleans house and kicks out 90 gunslingers and murderers that were no good, and I was like, well, let's show that scene. Let's have them come to town and kill about 100 people in 5 minutes. So it's just both expanding the story and having fun with it, and correcting all the things that I think I could do better the second time around. I can't answer questions like that. I have no idea. It's making movies. I don't know. I love movies. I watch them all day long, and I want to make them. And I guess that's what filmmaking is. That's a terrible answer. I'm sorry. But